What's going on, everyone? It's the Sticks and Beers podcast. It's your boy Bobby D, Tyler Hickey, joined with a special guest today on the pod, coming from South Carolina. His name is Brian Tosti, a.k.a. Toaster, a.k.a. my old housemate at SUNY Oswego.
3-9.
What's going on, Toast man?
Not too much. Just excited to be on the podcast. I finally got the call in. They brought in the reliever, eh?
Yeah, I don't know what took us so long, to be honest with you. We've been just so in deep with the ECHL and trying to stay afloat, really, that I completely forgot about some of the connections that we have. Like you, I've talked with Bobo, who is Rob Lapolis for the people listening. He is the play-by-play and head media guy for the Binghamton Devils in the A. And I have an interview lined up with him shortly. As soon as we already have it planned, once the season ends.
Yep.
Then we're gonna chat with him.
He's a good talk. I shoot him a couple text messages from here and there, and God, we got to get. I haven't made it up to the alumni game in a while either. We used to play all the time.
Yeah, I think that's falling apart. We could talk about that.
College connections.
Once we end the podcast, because there's some stuff with that. But as with everything, guys, the Sticks and Beers podcast is brought to you by Coach Tony's Hot Sauce. That is, you can be purchased at any local grocer, Wegmans. You know the drill. Tops.
Independence.
CTHotSauce.com, right?
Yes, sir.
You can check that out at also our website, sticksandbeers.com. Hit us up at every social media platform. We're out there.
Just got it all up and running. And
we're finally going.
Yeah, we're in for the long run.
That's what, when you're asking about sponsors and stuff like that, we're just worried about our base, you know?
Yeah.
We finally just got a Facebook page. We're on the gram. We've had a Twitter for a while, but we haven't really, we don't tweet that much. We should live tweet games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Actually,
we probably should.
Yeah.
And
to stay on brand,
there we go.
Let's get into what are we drinking. I don't have much today, but I'm drinking a Mikkeller Berliner Weiss, or Weisse, however you want to say. It's German.
Love the logo.
It's a sour. Those are watermelons.
Yeah.
Very fruity.
What is that hollow? Is that German or something?
Yeah. Hello.
Love that. Love it.
I think it's Hello, My Name Is.
Yep.
And then Berliner Weisse. It's great. I like it. It's a little fruity. So I got, the backup here. The Silver Bullet, let's go. For a nice palate cleanser.
Grade your top 5 college beers, and I'd say that's a bottom rung 5 right there.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with the Silver Bullet, though. Classic. It's a classic. Tyler, what do you drink?
I got the Warhorse Brewing Co., the Nitro Breakfast with Churchill Oatmeal Coffee Stout.
It's a local brewer here.
Down by the Finger Lakes.
Down by the Finger Lakes.
You gotta go local.
They're all of them.
And that's the thing. You got to go local. So obviously, you guys are up in the great state, the great Empire State. So I'll bring you a little bit of taste of the Palmetto State. We got RJ Rockers, Bell Ringer. It's a double pale ale. It's pretty good. I literally just got turned on to it probably a couple of weeks ago, and it's incredible. I drink it a lot now. So
Pale ale. I don't think I've ever heard of one of those.
A double pale ale.
It's got to be something with the hops.
Yeah, gotta be.
What else
and it is a little hoppy. So I got the River Falls Red Ale. That's by Thomas Creek Brewery. Both of those are located in the Greenville, South Carolina. And then I got some more back here. I got a full 6-pack in the case. So we can't forget about the I-85 Brewery as well. This one's quitting time because we just got off the clock. Why not? So just got that. And there's one. RJ Rockers, look this one up. Son of a Peach. It's a good one. Little wheat beer. This one's probably the best one known for Thomas Creek. The Trifecta, which is an IPA. Probably I drink that a lot if I go out and watch a game. And then 85 has another one called Southern Style, because obviously you come to the South, you got to get some Southern Style.
Yeah.
Oh man. It's all about the names coming down here. You have to have good names, and starts with Swamp Rabbit, right?
So leading into that, I should have done a better job introing you. you are the director of media relations and broadcasting for the Greenville Swamp Rabbits of the ECHL.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell us a little about what you do there? Tyler, I'm
Yep.
sorry you were going to ask this, but
It's okay.
Just
No,
kept going with it.
We're all on the same team here.
Tell us a little, how you got to
What
here.
would you say that you do here?
Yeah,
Is what
basically.
you're asking. Yeah, I run all of our media relations for the Swamp Rabbits, like based in the title, obviously, but you deal with a lot of different things. You're in a Southern hockey market, which, while it's getting better, you've got places like Nashville close and Atlanta's around, and Florida's doing well for hockey. I mean, it's different. You lose out to Clemson football. You lose out to different sports around the area because we're 30 minutes from Clemson. So, but it's interesting. You get to work with all the local TV stations, your radio stations, your different beat writers you have in town, and build some relationships with them. The other piece of my job is I operate our website and run all of that. So all of our press releases, a lot of our content on our website. A guy in our office, Ian Farrell, has done an unbelievable job. I don't know how this guy hasn't gotten looked up by AHL teams, NHL teams. Like, his stuff is second to none to anybody I've ever seen for graphics. So he does an incredible job with presenting everything, and then I just got to plug it all in, which so it's not too bad. We have some fun with it with our office, but at the end of the day, like, we're in off-season mode now. So now it's just getting ready for the upcoming season. Like, I'd sell some tickets, sell some sponsorships. You name the hat, I've probably worn it for our team, and not to mention a lot of other teams too.
So do you run all the social media accounts too then, or is that?
So I have a hand in them,
Okay.
but so we actually had 3 people in our marketing department that really had a hand in social media. It was me, Ian, who does graphics, and then a girl, Caitlin, who was unbelievable as well. She basically head up our social media campaigns and everything we did. She's since left, so now it's me and Ian, and we split the roles, but he does a majority of our tweeting, our Facebooking. So I do a lot of anything that has to do with like a PR or public relations issue, or we're putting out press releases. That's usually me. He gets to do all the fun stuff with graphics and kind of interacting with people. Although I did play a mean game of Wheel of Fortune with the Kalamazoo Wings the other day, the Idaho Steelheads, which was pretty cool. I made it through about 3 letters before I couldn't figure it out. So,
What's the and obviously you do the play-by-play as well, right?
Yeah, so that's the other fun part, and that's my favorite part of the job. So anything that we do for broadcast, if they need somebody to go out and be a voice of the team, I'll go on television, I'll go on the radio, and I'll do it. If we can't get a player or a coach, so I'll do that. I broadcast all 72 games throughout the year, home and away. Which, I mean, if anybody knows anything about minor league hockey, you get on the bus and it's just a grind some days. But it's a ton of fun. I love my job, and I've been doing it. I mean, Bobby, you knew me in college. I stopped playing hockey mainly to start doing that. So now we're talking 7 years of really doing it, 5 years of doing it professionally, and it's been a wild ride.
Well, talk about your grind to get where you are now. Because I've followed you, obviously. I've known what you've done, but tell Tyler, tell the people listening at home, you basically sort of went on the same trajectory as what a hockey player would do, just the broadcasting side of it. Yeah,
and it's funny. I had this conversation with I worked in Bloomington, Illinois for my first job in 2014. Prior to that, I did a full year internship, completely unpaid. Went out and basically had housing paid for. I moved to Illinois, and I worked for the Rockford Ice Hogs, which was awesome. Gained all that experience, and then I went and called junior hockey games in the USHL, which was, I mean, the players that are out in the USHL, it's unbelievable. If anybody hasn't gone out and seen some of these guys, Austin Matthews, I got to call games against. Matt Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk, who's up for the draft this year. Cale Morris out of Notre Dame was out there in Waterloo the 2 years that I was there in Bloomington. I mean, the style of hockey is, these are guys who are going places. So I was there for a little while and did broadcast media work for them. Made my way through juniors, and we had a conversation, like I was saying, with that one of our players who was asking, so what's the next move for you? What do you do? And I go, I literally do the same thing you do. He goes, what do you mean? I go, I leave here and I either go one of two places. I go college, I go OHL, or I go straight to pro. Or go major, junior, and then go straight to pro. And he goes, that's so strange that you think of it as the same regard. I go, yeah, it's literally the same rungs that you guys got to take, but you guys might make it to the NHL by the time you're 35 or 30 or whatever. If you're coming up in the minors and into the NHL, I'll make it when I'm like potentially 50 if I make it. So
as long as you get there, man.
As long as you get there, it's about the ride. So I left my job in Bloomington, and I owed them a ton of the world. I mean, they gave me my first break. And then I got hired here in Greenville. And I remember actually going through the job process and getting hired. And my buddy actually told me, he was in Bloomington at the same time I was. He got hired as our athletic trainer here in Greenville. He was the one who told me about the job opening. He goes, yeah, it's the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. I go, wasn't that the team that like had like a cool name, like the Road Warriors or something, and they changed it to Swamp Rabbits? He goes, yeah. And I was like, oh my God. That's where I'm moving to. And it was funny. I had no idea I followed the organization. It was a Rangers affiliate at the time. And I was, Rangers guy. So I'm following the whole process, and I was looking them up, found out that the Swamp Rabbit name actually has a ton of local ties. There's a Swamp Rabbit Trail here. There's Swamp Rabbit Brewery. Like when you look up Greenville, South Carolina, the first thing that comes up is Swamp Rabbits. So it made complete sense when I got here. I love the logo. I thought it was a little bit strange, but it was, I owe them a ton for giving me a shot, and it's been 2 cool years.
So let's get into the hockey, really.
Man, what do you want to know?
I mean, basically, it's like way worse than D1 ACHA, right? Like our team would have spanked them.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious.
Obviously, man, everyone for
ACHA to the show, man.
Yeah, basically.
ACHA to the show. No, it's funny. These guys, some of our guys are, they're NHL draft guys that either, our goalie this past year was a 2nd-round draft pick by the Rangers. So, I mean, you're looking at some really talented guys. There's a lot of guys that don't get an NHL shot though at coming here. I mean, we had a guy early in the year, Adam Chappie out of UMass Lowell, put up good numbers at UMass Lowell. He gets signed by the Rangers after 4 good years. He comes to us this first year. He goes up to Hartford in the American League, does okay, gets injured. So then he comes back to us at the start of this year. From top to bottom, this guy was the most complete player in the ECHL all through the time that he was in the league. At the start of the year, he gets a call up to Hartford, and he was actually part of a trade that sent him to Washington. So he ended up in Hershey, and this guy's a really solid player, but he never really cracked the lineup because he missed the Hershey Bears, and you had some really talented prospects coming up through Washington's system. So some of these guys are really talented hockey players that we've seen here. That either A, don't get a shot, or B, either are incredible players here, but when you put them at the AHL level, it's either the speed or the physicality or whatever that they can't hack it. So it's a really good brand of hockey. And at the same time, like you look at a guy like Derek England, who's playing for the Vegas Knights, he played in the ECHL. Like he was a product of the league that is from, he played for the Las Vegas Wranglers early in his career before he went up to the AHL, and then he became, what he is now. So, there's a really high level of players that come out of Division I hockey, the OHL, the Western League, and the Q. A lot of guys will come out of those programs. We've even had some guys that will come to us from, we had a kid this year who came from the EHL, like a young guy who didn't.
What's the
the EHL usually feeds college hockey players, though. So he was like, he finished up his time about 20, 21 years old, didn't want to go to college, couldn't crack into the to the major junior scene because obviously he's 21 years old. Yeah. So he's got to go somewhere.
Is this Schulte?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought so.
Yeah. So he ended up starting the year in the SP, and then he comes to us. But yeah, like there's any number of different scenarios of guys that you could have playing in this league. We actually had a guy this year who played in ACHA. He played for Florida Gulf Coast for 5 years. Kid's great dude. He's 5'7" or 5'8" listed. Dan Echeverry, like great guy. Played defense. One of the fastest guys we had on the team, but I mean he's a 5'7" defenseman. So, you know, it is what it is. But you have any guy from any different walk of life in this league, and it really, number one, it's humbling, and number two, it's pretty cool to see these different guys.
Little something about Schulte is we played high school hockey with him back in the day. We were seniors. He was an 8th grader. I just remembered I ragdolled that guy when he was an 8th grader. But
now he's like 7'7".
Yeah, now he can ragdoll me. That's
He
funny about it.
He got bigger.
Just a little.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, when we picked him up from the SPHL, he was 4th in the league in penalty minutes. And honestly, to see the level of guys that can fight at this league, I mean, even he was having trouble fighting guys at this level. I mean, we were talking about before we hopped on the pod. There's some big guys with some big tempers that can absolutely throw down. I mean, you guys were telling me about the one you watched with Fort Wayne in Colorado, right before warmups. There's no refs on the ice, and it's no hold bars, gloves on the ice. Like, are you kidding?
How does that happen though? I mean, it's pro hockey, and you figure the refs,
cross the red line.
Yeah, the video's like 10 minutes long too.
Yeah.
You know,
you don't feel like, hey refs, you guys gotta come out here or something.
Straight up, it genuinely, when you watch the video, it's the Western Conference Final of the Kelly Cup playoffs, and a guy crosses the red line and takes a little bit too far, and he just stays on the line a little too long. So he loops back around, and they have a little conversation. Conversations turn into sticks and shoving and slashing, and all of a sudden somebody just slashes too high and too hard, and the gloves come off. One of the guys in it was Gabriel Verpass, who, he's right in the mess of the whole thing, and this kid can throw. Not to mention he can play hockey, but he can throw them. And I remembered a game that we played. It was video game night my first year here. If you go online and you search video game jerseys, Greenville Swamp Rabbits, there's a picture of Matt Prapavessis for our team wearing just this pixelated jersey. It's everywhere online. It's been like everywhere. Barstool was covering it, whatever. TSN was all over it. In that game, guys were just jawing back and forth, and one of our guys said something to him over the bench, and he literally reaches over the bench and just starts throwing him from the bench at one of our guys. Like, oh my God. And so he got tossed out of that. Those two guys that started that fight got thrown out of the game like that. They didn't even play a minute. They got thrown out of the game before the game started.
So about on average, how many fights are there in the E, and can actual skilled players that don't necessarily fight actually play in the league? You know what I mean? Not like literally like they're not allowed to, but are they able to have time and space, or are guys just going to kick the shit out of them because they know they're way tougher than them?
So it's funny. You'd be surprised by the amount of like ECHL hockey you see from the internet and from sporting outlets that say, it's just a goons league and there's a lot of fights. I mean, honestly, depending on the team that you're with, you don't see too many fights a lot. I mean, typically there's a weekend where there's a big tilt from somewhere in the league to watch. But I mean, you're talking 27 teams over the course of, a full 7 days. You're looking at, the amount of weeks in the season, 22. You're talking maybe 27 big fights per year. The main way the league has gone is you're getting a lot of skill guys. You're getting a lot of guys that are coming out of college that don't drop the gloves and don't want to, and especially with the way concussion protocol is now, guys are not. I wouldn't say shying away from it, but the league's cutting down on it. All the refs are quick to jump in. Like if you have pushing and shoving, if there's a ref anywhere near you and he can get your hands on you, they won't let you go. So there's there's a lot of high skill. You're seeing more and more highlights, I feel like, on SportsCenter, TSN, anywhere that you can find. NHL's covering them for some of the top nights, that you see some of these prospects come in and put up big goals. I mean, earlier in the year, we had one that we shared where same guy, Adam Chappie, it's our second game of the year, cruising down the wing, a guy knocks his skates out. He's literally on his side and he lifts the puck. Like he's on his side and still is able to lift the puck over the goalie and in. One of the best goals I've ever seen live, and it happened to the Coast. I mean, or in the ECHL, because it isn't the Coast anymore, which is also the other misconception.
Yeah, is the Eastern, or is that changed?
So it's I think it was in 2007, they completely dropped the East Coast Hockey League. It used to be an abbreviation, East Coast Hockey League, and right now it's just ECHL. The letters mean nothing. It is literally ECHL. That's all it is.
Cut the abbreviation and then.
Yeah, I mean, it was either that. I mean, the league's been around for 30 years. We just had our 30th anniversary. You go ahead and rebrand. At the time that they did that, the UHL and the IHL were both still around. Those were both tier AA hockey leagues at the same time. You had the CHL that was still going on. So, I mean, if you go ahead and change your name, it's like, you run into the crapshoot of now we got to tell everybody that, hey, we're still the same league. We're still the same level. We just went by a different name because we're going more dominant than just the East Coast of the U.S.
When you're in that far, you don't really want to rebrand and then have to confuse everybody. I mean, when we rebranded from the Sticks and Balls podcast, we were tiny, and now we're still slightly less tiny.
I got to be honest. The other day, I went to go Google the podcast because I was just looking it up, and I knew it was Sticks and Beers, and I initially just put Sticks and Balls, and I was just, oh crud! Like that's not the name of it, man.
They both roll off the tongue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bob's
but I like
on the pod and called the Sticks and Balls once.
I like Sticks and Beers.
Shout out to our graphic designer Lobo, Chris Labosco.
There we go.
He's making it.
Man, he's killing it.
I know.
He's making it in the NHL.
Yeah.
Oswego alum, make it in the NHL.
Yep.
That's all you need.
Yeah. Well, he actually works for the NHL now, right?
Yeah. He used to be with Nashville. And
yeah.
For the.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're with it because I've been telling people and they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, man, he's absolutely murdering it right now.
Yeah.
So
kids on the fast track.
Obviously, you were talking about some fun stories in just the league in general. Is there any specific ones to the Swamp Rabbits that stand out to you, or you personally?
Well, there's one in particular that's on my Instagram page that got picked up by NBC. It's the kid from Manchester who was dancing out at center ice.
Oh yeah,
Craig Wyzmirski is Wyzmirski, I think. Whatever it is. I mean, it's clearly an American name. So, kids out on the ice. We're playing the second game. Was it the second game? I think it's the second game of a 3-game set. The building had just finished up a concert, and so they were, obviously they're moving. They're trying to get the ice ready for the game. So we played the first night. We go into the second night, and we make it to the final 6 minutes of the third period, and our team's winning by a pair. And all of a sudden, the ref calls it over and blows the whistle dead after the end of it, and he starts looking behind the net. And we're sitting there and we're like, what is going on? Now, obviously, we're in the South. Like, Vegas is going through it right now. Ice problems are an issue in the South, and especially in warm climates. During January when this happened, it was unseasonably warm. There's a divot in the ice. It's about that big. I mean, the size of my head and about this wide, just a chunk out of the ice. And they're pulling ice from everywhere, like off the side. They're, carving it up in different places, trying to pack this hole. Extinguishers come out, everything, and they're trying to fix the ice. And while all of this is going on, Wizymirski's in front of the Manchester bench, and everybody's just kind of hanging out and chilling out, and he's just dancing the entire time. There's probably a span of 10 minutes that nobody caught on video of him just dancing in front of the crowd. And finally, I took my headset off in the booth, and I yelled at the cameraman who was right behind me, and I go, "Hey, get him on camera." And I put my headset back on, and that's what's on NBC of the guy doing, whatever it is, and he starts rolling the dice. Funniest thing I've ever seen live. Probably about, I want to say 10 minutes later, after we did like a 45-minute delay, they call the game, say, "Guess what? We can't do this anymore." And of course, by that point, the game should have been over a half hour ago already. So now we got to come up with a last minute PR plan of what the heck do we do for people who had tickets tonight. We have another game tomorrow. What happens if the game has to get canceled tomorrow because we can't fix the ice in time? And we just start rolling through all these scenarios. I mean, that was one of the biggest PR nightmares of all time. And then the next day to have all these people contacting us and asking, "Hey, can we get clips of that video? That's hysterical." And it was everywhere. So that was one of my favorite things this past year. Funny enough, we finished that game the next night. We played 5 minutes and then we played the game, which was our teddy bear toss. So we had a 7:30 game because it was going to be our teddy bear toss. We start the other one at 7:00. We played the last 5 minutes. We did an ice cut, and then we played the other game at 7:30. And it was our teddy bear toss night. So we had to tell people, if we score in those 5 minutes, don't throw your teddy bears. Hold on to them until we play the next game, which was another half hour away. Yeah, it was the weirdest night of all time, but honestly, we got through, which was pretty cool. And heck, internet famous, why not?
There you go. So how did your season go in general?
We had a tough one. We had a tough one this year. Honestly, you're in the ECHL. You're going to lose guys to call-ups, and you're going to lose guys here and there for injuries or whatever. There was a point during the season where we were missing our top 6 players from the start, or from our opening roster. You had the first. We started in the mid-October. By the start of December, the top 3 scorers in the ECHL were all on the Swamp Rabbits. It was Caleb Herbert, Alan McPherson, and Brandon Truck. And in that order, just straight 1, 2, 3. And mind you, it was 1, 2, 3. And then the next guy was Michael Jolie in Colorado, who was another 5 points back. We had an unbelievable team at the first 2 to 3 months of the season. And Herbert got called up. We lost Halverson to the AHL. We start losing, different guys here and there to a couple little injuries. Our captain went down, and he didn't even start the season, and then he got hurt again halfway through the year. Our 2 big fighters, they started to get weird, get hurt a little bit, and by the end of it, McPherson then got a really good offer because he was putting up points, and he got a really good offer from a team to play overseas. So he went and took that offer. You then lose your top 2 scorers. If, then Truck goes down with an injury, and you're like, "Oh, okay, what's going on here?" All of a sudden, New Year hits, and I think we won 6 games from January 1 all the way through April. So we ended up in the basement, which was tough, but honestly, we had a pretty fun group of guys, especially in the early goings of the season. There's a bunch of really great guys that were in our locker room, so it made it a lot of fun. And it's never easy when you're losing hockey games. So, we got through it. It's a whole new year now for 2018-19.
There you go. Just kind of backtrack a little bit, but I was kind of curious on your, friendship with the players. You're on the bus with them. You're probably not sharing hotel rooms, but you're in the same hotel. So how is your relationship with the players?
It's fine. I think you develop different. Obviously, it's like any other friendship. Yeah. You develop different relationship with different guys. There was our goalie last year. Not this past year, but the year before, was Mackenzie Skapski, who Sabres fans might remember me. He had his two NHL wins were against the Sabres. and one of them was a shutout.
Sounds right.
So like guy was a good guy, but I mean, this guy, every time he saw me, when he saw me in the locker room, if you haven't heard any of my goal calls, they're usually high pitched and they're screaming. Like Bob is smiling because he knows. Every time he sees me, he would just be like, "Scars!" And that was it. That was our interaction all the time. So
not even a handshake or anything, just
I was just like, "What's It was like he would say that, and he's like, "What's going on? Like, how you doing?" And those, just shooting it every once in a while. But you have different relationships with different guys. Like there are some guys that played for the team, and I'll still shoot them text messages, see how they're doing. Jeff Malcolm, who was a goalie for us, who's retired now, one of the nicest guys I've ever met, and I'll still shoot him text messages and see how he's doing. And so yeah, I mean, it's every year you run into different people that you just connect with, and you can have conversations that are a little different. But yeah, I mean, I've never had a bad interaction with a player in my 5 years, if you're counting Rockford too. I've never had a bad interaction with a guy. They're all absolutely like top-notch guys.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, not playing. I mean, we got beer league now, but that team bonding, being a part of the team is something that I miss most about every day throughout the season. Something I miss a lot about hockey. I mean, we get together once a week now in beer league, and we drink some beers, eat some food, and then stay at the rink till 1 a.m. But
honestly, and that's the thing. Like you've got that's the whole thing about hockey, right? Yeah. Like you've got all these guys who connect. Like our guys, they're all in the apartments right around. We have team apartments through a sponsor, and all the guys are there, so they're always hanging out with each other. And like you've got the same vibes that you would with like a youth hockey team. Yeah. I mean, your guys are always really close and have a good time, which I really, there's a lot of sports that are similar, but I don't think the bond is like it is for hockey players. I don't know what it is, but it's something different. And I think some of it also has to do with the fact that, guys who are willing to drop the gloves and fight for somebody else. I mean, it means something else.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think in other sports, when you can't kick the shit out of someone when someone else does something bad to your teammate, it's different,
Yeah, it brings a whole different level of toughness.
It's like, I mean, like, you go around each NHL team, like, past enforcers, like, Andrew Peters, like, they're always Ty Domi, they're Rod Ray, they're always, like, the most liked guys. They always have the best personalities. And, like, they always, like, a lot of them get into media afterwards, and I think that's part of the reason why. They've
got great personalities. I mean, heck, like, look at a guy like JR. JR is killing it at NBC. I mean, you look up, I think there's some YouTube videos that are like, talk about the top 10 most hated guys in NHL history, and JR is on the list, but he's there because he has such a great personality. He was just such a tough guy to play against.
And he has 500 career goals. Yeah,
that too. That doesn't hurt.
So he beats you up in the corner. I remember. Yeah, I remember it was one of the All-Star games. It was like late 90s, and he wrecks Sergei Fedorov. I think it was Fedorov. Maybe it was some Russian guy, but he actually wrecks him. It was just hilarious, and everybody's just like, "Wait, what the hell just happened? There's no hit in this.
This is an all-star game. What are you doing?"
He just runs him over. But yeah, I mean, JR has great personality, and
100%.
Yeah.
So like that's a good leeway or pivot,
I love this
the NHL transition.
Yep.
After you crack that, I'm gonna crack one too.
Yeah. I just got it. Yeah.
Silver bullet, baby.
Well, we're on to a new segment. We're on to a new beer. This is that peach one I was talking about before. And yeah,
I'm a big fan of peach. I'm not a big fan of wheat beers so much.
Yeah. Son of a peach.
Oh, good name.
That's a
great logo. Great logo.
I like it. I'm gonna have to come down and visit you sometime, Toaster.
Man, it's been 2 years. I've been waiting.
No, seriously. Tough. I mean, I'm in grad school, so it's just I literally have to schedule things out just to like podcast and like hang out with people like a week in advance. It's miserable. Let alone planning a full-on vacation.
Yeah, I can bet that. I will tell you, if you come down, we'll hit the links. I mean, it's gorgeous down here. I mean, we had one snowstorm this entire year, It was in the middle of January, and the town shut down for a week, and I was driving like you would have thought there was rain on the ground, like just a light drizzle of rain, and that's how I was driving on my way to work.
Peasants, they don't know how to drive.
Man,
come back up to Western New York.
Right? Yeah, where it's 8 feet and you had to walk 15 miles uphill both ways to get to school.
Yeah, I remember the stories my dad used to tell about that. Both ways, the hill is up both ways.
So, I mean, we won't even touch on like the season because it's Stanley Cup Finals. What's your take on the Stanley Cup Finals in general? A, B, who you got? C, how many games?
I literally just had this conversation the other day. So I'm going to answer C and B first. I don't like it for hockey. I don't think it's good for hockey, and I'll explain why in a second. Okay. But
this is a hot take.
Jeez.
Yeah. I think Vegas is going to win it in 5.
Oh. All
right.
I think Vegas is going to win it in 5. And the reason I don't think it's good for hockey, let's be honest, we're in the mode of there's going to be in the next 10 years, there's going to be probably 3 expansion teams, give or take. I think in the next 8 years or so, we're going to see probably 3 expansion teams.
I think there's going to be one more expansion, obviously, Seattle. And I think
Seattle.
I think there's going to be teams moving. I don't know if there's going to be expansion. I think teams will move.
I think
yeah.
NHL hits 32 and they stay like that.
Yeah, I think they're going to.
There's okay. Fair enough.
I see teams, probably going to go back.
The Houston owner of the guy who owns the Rockets, he's chomping at the bit for a team.
100%. And there's 100% reason for him to. I don't understand, since the Arrows left, I don't understand why no one has even taken a shot in the AHL market. They drew incredibly well when they were there. And honestly, from what I remember, when they moved to Iowa, that was honestly the conversation of ownership and building just didn't see eye to eye. Mm-hmm. Like that was pretty much where it was. And ownership was like, well, screw this. We're going to Iowa where they actually want us. Houston's an incredible market, and that's a topic for here later. Yeah. But the main piece of why I think it's not great for hockey if Vegas wins the whole thing. Vegas is an unbelievable story. Don't get me wrong. They have done from start to finish something that is literally impossible. They've put together a team out of nothing and won the Stanley Cup. I mean, it's like you go and play any game from the last 10 years and it's like what we do on franchise mode for NHL, but like you don't actually think it's possible. The main problem I see with it is now Seattle's going to come in and they're not going to have a choice but to change the way the NHL entry draft or the way the expansion draft is going to be made.
Nicked that at the butt saying we're going to keep it the same. The managers, the GMs are going to be different though.
Yeah.
The inside of the NHL is going to conspire and they're going to get shit players because of it. So regardless of the rules.
Yeah. But here's the thing that I was discussing too. Like, let's think about it from the stance of Vegas. When you're coming into an expansion draft, there's eight guys from every roster, maybe 7 on specific rosters that you can't touch. Okay. If you really want a guy, you're willing to wheel and deal for them. So let's say you wheel and deal with 6 teams for all the draft picks you were given. You wheel and deal with 6 teams. You get those 6 players you want. The rest of the league, you have the 9th best player. And in some instances, you're protecting younger, so you don't even have the best player, the 9th best. You're looking at the 8th, 7th, 6th best player on some of those teams. You're going to be extremely competitive right off the bat. It doesn't surprise me that Vegas has made the playoffs and gone on this run. Now, I couldn't have imagined that they'd go to the Stanley Cup and win the whole thing potentially, but here we are. And that's why, in my mind, come the off season when things are a little different and once Seattle comes in, I think they might have a change of heart. I think they genuinely might have a change of heart if Vegas walks away with the trophy.
Did you on the last pod we mentioned it, and then on Twitter today I saw a thing where it said share like quote tweet this with your conspiracy theories. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if
I didn't see it.
Talking about this on the pod or it was either before, after, or live. So that's a really vague thing to say.
Yeah, of course. Somewhere in a 5-hour stance, this happened.
So obviously, Greg and on the pod, and then Kyle, our fourth.
Yep.
They're big into betting, sports betting on hockey.
Of course.
And Kyle was talking about how they're giving out, like the casinos in Vegas are buying out people's bets.
I think we talked about this on the pod.
Okay.
Yeah.
But just to recap.
I gotta tell this. A buddy texted me, beginning of the season, he put $100 on Vegas to win the whole thing.
You're like, why not?
Like $100 to win the whole thing. And the kid's gonna make out like a freaking banshee if he wins this thing. If they come out with it. And like, props for him. Like, that's just about as good an investment as gambling in the stock market for a year.
Right.
Like, come on. The kid walks in and he goes, they're literally saying that they want this team to be competitive. I mean, you're looking at the chances now increase, and now even more than that. Before they even had a roster was when he put his bet down. Like, come on, put $100 down on that, and you're cleaning up.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry.
No,
do you know if like Vegas has offered to buy out his ticket?
Yeah.
I genuinely don't. I'm actually curious. I kind of want to text the kid now.
Because that's what they're doing now. Instead of these people that put down $100 to win $50,000, the casinos are contacting them, saying, "We'll give you $10,000 cash right now."
$1,000 to just walk.
I'm reaching a little. Obviously, it's probably not true, but you never know with the Illuminati and stuff like this.
Jesus. Yikes. That kind of podcast, eh?
Bobby, this is I haven't lived with you for 5 years. This is stuff that would come out in our college house.
Yeah, so
that's exactly what would come out of our college house.
What if the U.S. government is legalizing sports betting to help subsidize the loss that these casinos are gonna get when the Vegas Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup?
Bobby, I love conspiracy theories.
Why?
Me and my roommate have been watching unsolved case files of alien invasions. Like, we've been doing this for the last 2 weeks. We obviously love conspiracy theories, but there's no way. There's no way.
No, I know. I think it's hilarious.
I love it though.
Why not, right? So
why not? It's fun.
Yeah, I mean that's a conspiracy theory.
That's what they're for. That's what they're for.
They're there to have some fun. Like,
if
why
Tom
not?
DeLonge can quit Blink-182 and research aliens, I could think this conspiracy theory is true. So
I love it. Oh my!
You have them in 5, regardless of the overarching stories and stuff like that. Why, when it comes to the hockey, why do you got them in 5?
Because I don't think there's a hockey player that will discount how important a goaltender is to the playoffs. I don't think there's a single guy in pro hockey that'll tell you that a goaltender is not the reason that they won the cup. Even you're talking 2010 Stanley Cup, it's Antti Niemi. He didn't even play great in that cup finals, and he hasn't been great since. He was still pretty good during that stretch, and they had one of the best offensive teams in a decade for the Blackhawks. So, I mean, you look at the last goaltenders of all the Stanley Cups, they're incredibly crucial. And there isn't a guy who, number one, is playing better hockey. I think Braden Holtby has been stellar. I mean, talk about the guy who gets put on the shelf for the first 2 games, and they're like, oh, hey, by the way, you want to bail us out because we made a horrible choice. So this guy brought you through the Stanley Cup for a while, or they brought you through the playoffs for a while.
Just a quick question on that. Do you think Holtby plays this well if he starts game 1 against Columbus? Because he's playing like he has a chip on his shoulder right now. He is cocky.
So
he's playing cocky. He's playing very,
I totally agree with you. I think if he plays game 1, he doesn't put the level and the he's an incredible goalie. Don't put it against him. They tried to play the hot hand on a guy who hasn't really proven anything. I love Grubauer, but everybody thought he should have gone in the expansion draft. Didn't. He's a guy who everybody thought should go in game 1 of the playoffs. He was awful for 2 games. You're talking about a guy who does play with a chip on his shoulder. That being said, I think Holtby is established enough that he still would have come out in game 1 and played incredibly well, but I don't think he would have had the ride that he's had if he didn't have this.
It's basically an FU to Trotz hey, you should have
Yeah.
played me in the beginning, but now I'm here, and I'm going to just take us all the way.
Right. And I think it's also the proving to the organization, to himself, hey, I'm the guy and I should have been the guy.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna basically prove this along the long term. That being said, like, he's an incredible goalie. He's playing great. The guy at the other end, I mean, can you?
A little bit better.
It's not even that he's playing better. Look at him. He jokes. He's laughing the entire game. I don't think I've seen a guy in. I mean, I'm trying to think of the last guy who had this much fun playing hockey in the professional game. No, I didn't. Oh, him skating.
He was out in the afternoon in like a onesie.
He was wheeling around all in his gitch. He's wheeling around in his gitch, and he's just having a good time. Like, he does not care. And I think genuinely, like, Pittsburgh treated him incredibly well. Over the last few years, they had a kid who was coming in Matt Murray, who is, in my book, I mean, he's 2 years into his career. I think future aspirations for him, kid's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, if he has a career that doesn't have injuries, the kid might. Which he had this year. It's hard. You got to, but early in a career, he might be the next Marc-Andre Fleury to have an unbelievable career and might put that together. Because Fleury doesn't have some guy over his shoulder that he thinks is going to steal the net from him, which, to be honest, he has had throughout a lot of his career. You basically don't have to worry. You basically are looking at the guy coming in, and he's just having fun from top to bottom. He doesn't have to worry. He knows that he can go in. And that's the whole mantra for Vegas. You don't have to worry about a guy coming in and stealing your job. He can, it was like Thomas Nozick in game one. A guy has had mistakes and he's made mistakes, but at the end of the day, he comes out and they have trust in him. They're double shifting him in the third period because he's playing so well, and he gets 2 goals.
Yeah. Well, I think it was game 4 or 5 against Winnipeg. He takes a penalty. We talked about this on the pod. Then he takes a penalty. Winnipeg scores on the power play. He puts him out the next shift, and 43 seconds later, he scores.
He scores.
Back up. I mean,
and that was Jonathan Marchessault was out during that whole piece. Like, they double shifted because Marchessault was out, and they have enough resilience in a fourth line guy to play him in Jonathan Marchessault's spot. Are you kidding?
I mean, I would love to have played for a coach like Gerard Gallant, where he's like, don't worry about making mistakes.
It's gonna happen.
Just go play your game. You're pros. You're here for a reason. You're good enough to be here.
Yep.
Now just go do it. And
they're gonna go do it, and they're gonna, if they make a mistake, that team's good enough that they're gonna come back and they're gonna fix it. Because I don't think, like we were saying, you're picking up guys throughout the year, and you're picking up guys like, let's be honest. Let's talk about a guy who you went out and you traded for Thomas Tatar, who is, in my opinion, a stud in his own right. He hasn't panned out for them, and they're like, okay, we're going to put you on the shelf.
We'll wait for it. I think he's going to have a
great
next year.
Oh my God, he's going to have an unbelievable
full off-season, full implementation of their system, and he's proven that he's like at least a B plus rated player in the league.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. But even from him,
Red Wings team,
him beyond that too. Let's talk Jason Garrison, who, for lack of a better term, rotted in the AHL this year. That guy's been in the NHL and could be a veteran of your lineup, but they're like, you know what? We got better younger players. Sorry.
Yeah, he was one of the guys that they showed off at the expansion draft.
Exactly.
Like, look at this guy. He's coming here.
Right. And of course, now you've got the problem of, okay, Derek Engelland is the heart and soul of this team. He's going to be like our veteran on the line. Then you bring in, your Riley Smith, and some of these guys are just, they fit in that lineup. And at the end of the day, you're looking at it and you're like, Garrison, like, you're a good hockey player and you're kind of getting up there, I guess, in years. We don't have a spot for you. And they didn't have the ability to really trade him. So, I mean, that the whole process for them, let's not forget about their goaltending problem they had.
Yeah,
I don't know, midway through the year. They had the first kid come out of junior hockey on a PTO and had to play.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
It's absolutely insane.
Like, it's absolute insanity to see what these guys have done. So I love it. I think it's incredible. I think they're going to win in 5. I'm still behind the idea that if they win the whole thing, there's going to be so many people that are up in arms about an expansion team being handed the cup. Like, they've earned it, but there's going to be a lot of people that are upset.
Where were these people though in the beginning of the season? Nobody had them
No
making
one
the
did.
playoffs.
I thought
Nope.
they were a historically bad season.
Yeah.
The ragtag mists.
And they were giving this team, it's unfair. They're a bunch of cheaters. And
did you guys watch the extended intro online of everything that went into the pregame intro? Not just what was on NBC, but the people in Vegas saw on the video board. Every single team that they played in the playoffs, there was a quote about, like, some reporter asked them this question, or on the radio, a player said this. It was the Drew Doughty quote.
Mm-hmm. I've heard about this stuff because Whitney on Spit and Chicklets talks about it.
Yeah, and San Jose, I cannot remember who said it. San Jose, somebody said something about, they're the Misfits are not going to be able to win this series or something, and then you go into the series against Winnipeg, and Connor Hellebuck, who honestly I thought was going to steal that series, he said something to the extent of, like, they've had the Golden Misfits chain and they've worn this badge of honor, but it's not going to go that way by the end of our series. I mean, they absolutely shelled him. Like, for lack of a better term, they embarrassed a guy who I thought was probably going to be potentially an MVP in the playoffs.
He's a Vezina finalist too.
I thought he was going to be your Vezina winner. I genuinely thought he was going to be your Vezina winner, and he doesn't make the final. Like, I mean, it's insane. The whole cup playoffs have been wild this year.
All those quotes are just something you just put up on the blackboard before games. Like,
people just keep feeding them that material.
Yeah, and they were just eating it up and running with it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's nuts.
So I think that's a good time to end the NHL discussion.
Okay.
Because
love it.
We can talk NHL, and then we'll have you on for more summer content, which would be great.
I love it.
We'll talk about big picture,
honestly,
next year stuff.
I love all that, and I've got. If you guys ever want to pick up again sometime, I've got tons of ECHL stories that you guys would probably love.
Well, don't worry. We got one more thing, because we have implemented a thing recently of the Sticks and Beers trivia.
Love it.
Where we ask.
Sponsored by Coach Tony's.
Yeah, sponsored by Coach Tony's. You can get that at any local grocer, any local Wegmans, Tops.
Do they?
CTHotSauce.com.
Do they ship to South Carolina? Because I'm gonna have to buy me a bottle now.
I think we could figure out.
We can get you some. Don't worry.
Good. I'll put some tags on the gram.
Typically, we do a hockey and non-hockey trivia question.
You want to explain how that started?
Oh yeah, this guy is a nutcase when it comes to remembering hockey statistics and stuff like that.
Buddy, my nickname is Fact Guy. Or Stat Guy. My nickname is Stat Guy. My nickname is Stat Guy.
Well, maybe we need to have a Stat Guy off here. Maybe we might have to fly up, and we might have to have Sticks and Beers Jeopardy or something like that. I'll be Alex Trebek, and you guys can be the contestants or something like that.
Sounds good.
I didn't think of I literally thought of this while we were talking, like 15 minutes ago. So I don't have a non-hockey trivia one. Maybe you could think of one, or you could think of a hockey one off the top of the dome.
I don't care about non-hockey.
But we're going to keep this with Stanley Cup Finals related.
Okay. Yep.
When was the last sweep in an NHL Stanley Cup Final?
Wow. The last sweep in a Stanley Cup Final.
Oh, I'm not even on this? Yeah.
Excuse me.
Kings beat the Devils 4-2.
I'll give you a hint.
Yeah, it's late 90s.
It's in the 90s.
It's in the 90s. Yeah. That's what I thought.
There was a bunch in the 90s, actually.
I'm gonna say it was the Dallas Stars over the Detroit Red Wings. And it was that like 98, 99, something like that? No. Am I thinking right?
I think
or am I lost?
Dallas over Sabres, 99.
Yeah.
But, yes.
But no, sorry. That was not.
That was not it.
That was, yeah.
Hold on. I got one more guess.
Yeah, we'll give you one more.
Guess. Do I only have to get the team that won it, or do I have to get the whole series?
I was just asking the year, really, or if you
Wow.
want. I mean,
any part of it.
any part of it, we'll give you credit.
Honestly, I'm a little bit of a blank. I want to say the Detroit Red Wings won it.
You're
That's
right.
part of it.
Right? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was it 99? Or was that 98?
98. They beat the Capitals.
Capitals.
Yep.
That's a good trivia question.
It's a great trivia
'Cause-
question.
Well, I was going to say 20 years down the line,
exactly.
Caps are down 1-0.
Wow.
Wow.
God.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but you never know.
Illuminati.
We don't want Greg to be right on that, all right?
Yeah, it was on the last pod. We
Illuminati.
went down the line. Literally, and not even planned.
Yeah.
It went 7 games. I have them in 6. Tyler had them in 5, and then Greg just throws the fucking hammer. He's like, "We're going for a sweep, boys."
Jesus.
I don't see that
jeez.
happening personally.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, hell, I mean, Washington was the first. Here's my stat, which obviously I'm stealing it from NBC, but Washington was the first team to score in the first period in Vegas. No team in the playoffs scored in the first period at Vegas when they were at home. Washington scored twice. I mean, any team that can come into that building in that environment and score 2 goals has a chance to steal 1, 2, maybe 3 games. Like, come on, this game is going to be up in the air. Like,
Yeah.
Starting soon.
It's
I
8 o'clock now.
think Caps win tonight. Honestly, that's my take.
it's going to be.
They've been really good on the road.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Well, heck, we were talking about goaltenders, and it was both of them gave up 5 goals. Like, I mean, that became all about offense, which was insane.
So yeah, you got them winning tonight. I was gonna say let's have our predictions for game 2. You have them winning.
yep, I got them winning.
What about you,
Caps,
Toaster?
Caps winning tonight.
I don't think Vegas drops serve at home.
I don't think so either. I think
that hype in that city, there's no way.
I think both of them had a bad game, and Vegas just pulled it out. And I think if Vegas can have a really good game, they're not going to lose at home.
So
A couple.
So you think
Well,
this game's gonna be a little tightly matched, a little more defensive?
Yeah.
Probably like a 3-1
with an empty
4-2.
netter.
see, and genuinely, I think it's going to be high scoring again. And the way I look at it is, all of the goals that you saw, I mean, especially 2 of Washington's, scored off of rolling pucks. It's 93 degrees in Vegas. The puck is bouncing all over the place. It makes it hard for goaltenders to read. I mean, there's a lot that plays into just the atmosphere that you're playing in. And I think if the puck's rolling a little bit, you get some lucky tips and lucky bounce. It might be a 5-4, a 4-3, I think you're going to have another high scoring game.
So he's betting the over. I got the under. I don't know what the official line is.
Yeah,
but
neither do I. I think it's going to be like 3-1 empty netter, 4-2, 4-1 with an empty netter, maybe like 2 empty netters, where they pull the tendy with like 3 or 4 minutes left in the game.
I'm going to go with either 4-2 or 4-3.
All right.
4-2, 4-3.
We'll see.
Yep.
Toaster, it's been fantastic chatting with you, man.
Great.
Man.
To see ya.
Great knowledge.
I'm excited, man. I love I love that you guys have invited me for the cast. I'm hoping for a few more episodes on the pod.
Listen,
It's been fun.
We've been toying with the idea of doing like Google Hangout podcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not just because Spit and Chiclet's been doing that and they're all working remote and you know that, but we're all busy guys over here on the podcast. So if we ever need anyone to fill in for one of us,
Give me a holler.
I'm
there.
You're in the bullpen, baby.
I like it.
I'm in the bullpen. I love it. I'm around.
Well, guys, thanks for listening. This has been the Sticks and Beers podcast, joined by the one and only Brian Tosti of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits in the ECHL. Just remember, Sticks and Beers podcast brought to you guys by Coach Tony's Hot Sauce, cthotsauce.com. Tyler.
Yes.
It's been real.
It's been fun.
But it hasn't been real fun there, folks.